And now we'll move forward for our next session on commerce media. As you may have started to see the commerce media phrase bubbling up these days, that's because it's a new approach to digital advertising that's changing how commerce is done today. Well, commerce media is a combination of publishers, open internet, and retail media, as we all know, to get a complete view on the customer journey, especially on their shopping experiences. So we have been joined by the industry experts to talk on this. To discuss more about this, we have Ms. Dimpi Yadav, who is the General Manager, X-Axis. May we have the pleasure of inviting you on stage, please. Please put your hands together for all our esteemed panelists whom I'm inviting. Ms. Dimpi Yadav is here. After her, I would like to welcome Ms. Disha Shah, who is the Senior Vice President Business, Conversational Tech Solutions, Bobble AI. Please welcome, ma'am. I always say I have the privilege of this mic, so my applauses are audible. So I'm requesting all of you to please put your hands together for a beautiful woman on the dais. Now I would like to invite Shitanshu Dikshit, who is the Lead Digital Communication, Pernod Ricard India. Please welcome Shitanshu. Along with him, to chair this session, I would like to welcome Ms. Anjali Mulkhankar, who is the National Strategy Director, Tonic Worldwide. Please welcome ma'am. So from here, you can take it forward on commerce media. All yours. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, so it is the buzzword today, commerce media, and we will try to demystify that today with this panel discussion. I think we can probably start with, how has the journey been so far? And, because of the rise of programmatic, where is commerce media today and what is the potential of it? Maybe we can start with you, Dimpi. You want to go first?
Sure. So I would say that when we talk about commerce, of course, the panel name itself tells us that we say commerce media, and that's the evolution, because 3 years, before, it was always e-commerce and always seen from perspective where we talk about what to buy. So let's go to marketplace e-commerce. So it was more of a buyer's perspective, and that itself tells us that that's where audiences have moved.
Right.
Especially within pandemic, I'll say it has been a boon for commerce as a landscape, where we could see a lot of adoptions coming in, not from just buyer perspective in terms of moving for their purchases patterns, etc. But we have seen a lot of investments happening also in that landscape. We have seen, when you talk about commerce, a stack has been built, whether it's about building your data capabilities, or about having a very stronger measurement capabilities, or in terms of when you say audience targetings or cross-channel measurements, etc. Any kind of verification when you talk about, especially when it comes to e-commerce as a landscape. I would say that especially this year, we have seen not just the leading partners, getting into it, but even the smaller ones. So when you talk about smaller aggregators, be it in groceries or food apps, etc., that also has become a part of very much media commerce, because they carry very strong signals and intent, the kind of data sets that they have, which is so real time is what I'll say. So the kind of nitty-gritties that you can get in terms of insights for an audience and the segmentation is now much more beyond only e-commerce platforms. And I'll say that's the journey, that it's from e-commerce has moved towards a media commerce, which is a very wide spectrum as of today.
And also, I guess, because of the need for first-party data approach as well, right? So
yeah, right.
Disha,
So when
Sure. So I think I agree with Dimpi. I think the journey so far has been excellent, but it does not kind of address the needs of today's brands or today's consumers, right? I mean, the industry as a whole has evolved, it has matured a lot. There's a lot of intelligence and data available today at our fingertips, and which is why, we need to kind of come up to speed with it, and which is why, commerce media makes sense, right? There are a lot of silos. I think until now, we've been kind of functioning in silos, but now with commerce media, we're actually bringing together retailers, we're bringing together consumers, and the platform is right there to kind of convert the insights into instant gratification sort of a model, right? So I think that's where we are at right now, and definitely much needed given how the industry has kind of shaped up.
Right.
No, so couple of pointers just to highlight.
Right.
I think programmatic has played a huge role. In fact, the spends roughly were 40% 2021, expected to jump to 45%. So programmatic is playing a huge role, as you asked. It's definitely here to stay. Also, I think with this entire commerce media rising, I think it's had the publishers, the marketeers, as well as the advertisers, all three huddled together to come up with creative solutions as well. Just to give you an instant, at my previous stint at ITC, we were proud to create India's first unified commerce platform, and we call it as ITC eStore. This happened during COVID. And a double-digit CR is what we clocked in the first year. So, and primarily because of the partners, primarily because we were very clear that commerce media will play a vital role, and primarily because we were very clear that we need to be the first in this race. So first in the race, opportunities, advertisers, marketers, and brands coming together, and programmatic playing a vital role as well. So all four kind of being a checklist, yes.
Interesting. And what data points really, are consistent of commerce media? What are the various data points that one can look at when it comes to commerce media? Disha, do you want to?
Sure. So I think at Bobble AI, we've built a commerce media platform ourselves, right? I mean, for those of you who are not aware of Bobble, we are actually a conversation media platform, and our flagship product is a keyboard application currently used by 80 million users across the globe, right? So that's the kind of platform that we have built, and slowly we are integrating commerce media inside the platform, right?
Right.
Now, talking about some of the parameters, right? I mean, when it comes to users on our platform, we constantly get signals from them in 3 different categories. So these could be on the basis of their app usage affinity. It could be on the basis of certain product affinity, like in certain categories. And the third is intent for consuming certain set of services, right? So, I mean, basis all of these different parameters, we are actually able to create a complete 360-degree profile of the end consumer, and all of it pretty much in real time, right? Because keyboard or a conversation tool is essentially a platform where a lot of signals are generated in real time, right? I'm browsing, I'm chatting, I'm messaging. I message a friend saying, hey, Delhi, are you? That's an intent of travel generated right there and then. I go on Amazon, look for a product XYZ. That's an intent to shop for the product, right?
So it's very intent.
It's intent that is generated in real time. And all of these are kind of tracked, processed in real time to give that sort of intelligence both to brands and also to give the right kind of suggestions to end consumers.
But how does it close the loop on impressions to purchase?
Right. Right. So, I mean, taking that ahead, so like I was mentioning, we've built the conversation media platform ourselves. So what we are doing is we're now integrating third-party services right inside the keyboard, right?
Okay.
So say, for example, one user talking to his friend and wanting to consume a service, saying travel booking, right? The integration of a travel partner is right there inside the keyboard, right? So we are closing the loop from intent to activation by integrating services right onto the keyboard, right? And making the entire journey extremely seamless, right? We are removing essentially the friction, right? Because essentially, if you see, and I mentioned this earlier, right? I mean, it's earlier it was all happening in silos, right? Intent is getting generated somewhere else. The consumption is happening probably.
So it was fragmented.
It was fragmented, and we are trying to kind of consolidate the entire consumer journey on our platform, where an intent is actually served with a suggestion pill, right? We call it a suggestion pill. So our users would probably see a suggestion saying, want to buy a flight ticket or something like that. And it's a suggestion, right? So just like a keyboard or a conversational tool gives you word suggestions, our platform gives you service suggestions or product suggestions as well, right?
That's how it's closing the loop.
Exactly.
Okay. Intent to purchase.
Exactly.
Okay. Interesting. Dippy, do you want to talk about also, I think you all also published a report on commerce media last year. Any highlights from that would help the discussion?
Yeah, so the report that we launched was a programmatic report, very exclusively and intensively done. And of course, Discovery Commerce, which is the solutions name, had been there and it's gonna be
Right.
furthermore this year. So we had identified that this is gonna be the trend for this year, ongoing year. And what we have really seen is that it is shaping up like that eventually. So when you talk about media commerce as a landscape, we clearly understand that when brands are kind of planning their campaigns on digital, clearly the funnel flows, which is awareness campaign or an engagement campaign or a bottom funnel. And I think it had been a myth that if you talk about media commerce is equal to ROI only falls for performance campaign. But what we really see that it is not just a solution but a channel in itself. The way you say video advertising, display advertising, similarly I see media commerce is an advertising channel itself, which flows from top to bottom, which is awareness funnel, then again, mid funnel, and the bottom one, which is performance. But now the thing is, when you talk about media commerce, that how is it relevant for a top funnel or versus a bottom funnel? We always link it back to FMCG brands, like because their products are listed on e-commerce portals, so it makes more relevance. But then, are we trying to say that for a category which is maybe auto, media commerce is not the solution? Of course not, right? It's not like that. So for them, relevancy becomes different. So when you talk about them, at the end, users are same, and their purchase pattern kind of spans across their lifestyle, which is not just buying a car, but also what are they buying within FMCG or what are they buying within apparels, etc. Right? So media commerce really helps you understanding the touch points of a user throughout their journey, and then craft a strategy, which is the beauty is can be activated outside e-commerce portals too now. So media commerce is not just about a few e-com portal where you say that, okay, if I don't have my product listed, then what do I do? It's not like that. You can actually now bifurcate it across the pillars, which is then data, insights, activation on inventory, and measurement. So the beauty of media commerce is what I see is that, you can go towards data part, especially
Right.
for clients like automotive, etc. Understand who these users are, what else are they doing, and you can also combine this with your offline locations. For an example, if your dealership is in a particular city or a particular location, you can understand who these people are and then further map
It's
it back.
very sharp.
Yes,
targeting.
further map it back to media commerce insights to understand that what are the categories that they are browsing furthermore. What is their purchase value or the cart values, etc. And you can craft a strategy for your campaign accordingly, which can be again activated even on video channels, right? It's not only imperative that it has to be in media commerce. So that's why I say that media commerce is not just a solution in the grid anymore. That's a channel in itself. And when you talk about media commerce, the strategy has to be built accordingly. Like when you're building up a campaign, you need to see that for my campaign, for my category, how media commerce is going to play a role across the channels. I mean, across the funnels. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, if I may add, I mean, she mentioned, I mean, it's a sharper channel and it also makes information more democratic, right? It's
Right.
not, I mean, consumer intelligence is not just limited to one platform, or it's not
Right.
just privy to one platform, but I mean, it can be democratically made available across, channels and platforms. And I think that's the beauty of
You want to add
consumer
any use
media.
cases to that?
Yes, so I think just to add to Dimpi's point, there are 6 sources, and that's where data comes into picture. Commerce is important, but your first party is really important. We identified 6 sources of first party data when we went ahead and created the golden records of your entire data hub. These were the market research, the consumer care, the e-commerce, the social media, the activations which we do. How do we integrate all of them to create a data pool and then identify different cohorts? So for example, if there's an audience of say roughly 200 or 150 odd people out here, we actually were able to identify 158 different cohorts.
Wow.
158 was the number. And this number is, I'm sure it would have increased. Because what you would be able to do is, you would be able to slice and dice the data and say, hey, this is the PII data, this is the non-PII data. How do I identify Shitanshu with a particular ID? How do I slice and dice the data with these first-party sources? And when you do push in a so-called creative with a context,
Right.
creative with a context is really important. So if it's raining, if it's a rainy season, if I show an ad of a summer, it doesn't make it makes zero sense. So context is important. You have identified someone. Context is important. You have built that context. You have showed that ad to that specific cohort. The conversion was 3.2 times better. 3.2 times was the propensity of that guy to be lured into that funnel. And of course, with their objective. You could identify the objective and you could lure it with a 3.2 times. So hypothetically, 220 times more indexed. So that's the beauty of commerce linked to first party data and kind of then drill it down across the funnel with a purpose. I think that's the beauty of it, yes.
I think also in terms of relevance, we are talking about today cookieless future, and keeping that in mind, commerce media does answer that to an extent.
No, absolutely. Gone are the days, I think we were discussing backstage as well. It's a classic case of the dial shift from identification to context. So I was talking from the brand point of view, but a consumer does not want to be bullied and pushed across creative. I don't want to see an ad. If you ask anyone, do you love ads? No, I hate ads. We all hate ads. We all are the first people to skip or kind of move beyond an ad and look into the content. So you have identified someone, fair point, from a publisher or advertiser point of view, but from a consumer point of view, you are being intrusive. So gone are the days from identification to the context. So if you look at, I always say that 2023 is going to be the age of nice creative with a context using the power of programmatic. Very simple. Creative plus context plus programmatic is going to be the future of 2023. And of course, you have all the layers of innovation, all the layers of tech solutions and brands across FMCG, or for that matter, finance, or for that matter, online deliveries. Right. I think they're doing fabulous work. So creative plus context plus programmatic is what is going to drive this entire space of 2023.
So which are the categories that you think are low-hanging fruit for commerce media, and which categories you think will take
So I look
time?
at it at two lenses. One is a consumer out and one is tech out categories. Those two are going to be the driving forces. So if I have to then do a deep dive in consumer out, it's going to be, we look at it as FFE, we look at it as finance, we look at it as fashion, and we look at it as electronics. Of course, with the food being the food is there, but food is covered in the second part of it. So finance, fashion, and your electronics is going to drive. The equip out, if you look at, is all which is kind of helping consumers out. So online players, D2C, all these online FMCGs which are creating their own data hub. I think those are the two layers, those are the two spaces which are going to drive connections, yes.
What do you think?
Sure, I think I agree with you on the FFE part. And if I have to kind of add in insights from the platform that we have, I think also hyperlocal travel is very big on the list, right? So apart from like FFE, that also seems to really be on the top of the list. So, I mean, definitely.
And sorry, just to add, you look at the top players in this category, a Clear Trip, a Make My Trip,
Exactly,
or any of them, any of these top players.
Or your Ubers or
all
Olas,
they are trying to hit you where you are. Yeah, absolutely, yes.
So I'll add on to that, but I will say that it's not only for few categories. I'll tell you why.
You did mention
Yeah,
that
because that was the conversation that I started with,
Yeah.
saying that e-commerce is not just about few top portals where we go and shop stuff for us, right? What is media commerce? A common marketplace where you can, end up buying. It could be an insurance where you go to an aggregator to buy insurance. That's an insurance marketplace, right?
Right.
Similarly, when you're going to any kind of car portal to evaluate second-hand cars or to even sell your cars, they're a car marketplace. But again, that's a media commerce space, right? So that's where I say that media commerce has expanded itself not just to a few e-com sites where you're buying all categories, but it's also beyond. So even if it's an insurance player or a car evaluation partner
it's
or a food
D2C,
app, it is all, right? So if a consumer is going to all the apps to make a purchase, I don't even remember when did I go to a bank to buy something. It's always the apps, right?
Right.
And the aggregators, even for insurance, etc. So I feel that as a consumer, if I'm everywhere for my purchases, then even for brands, the relevance is there, very much there. Yes, you need to pick and choose that. If you talk about, say, from a insurance company and as an advertiser or a auto advertiser, you need to understand that what is the channel for you in terms of picking up your data activations. Like you say that, okay, cohorts or analysis or insights is something that I'm going to pick from some top leading partners, or there are some common tools as well, which does the analysis, which tells you that your competition or the kind of brands you want to look for are more searched on, say, Amazon or on Flipkart,
So
etc.
definitely more than usual suspects.
Yeah,
there
but you
will
can
be
also
there.
pick and choose your inventory. So your inventory need not be your data source. So, say Swiggy, which is Swiggy or Zomato or Flipkart, Amazon, etc. Any other partner could be your data source provider, but your inventory could be anything else. Could be any OTT partner, could be any audio partner too, which totally goes in relevance to your campaign objectives. What do you want to go for? So I always say that your campaign needs to be built on the back of the objective that you have for the advertising brand and not basis the channel. And that then you pick and choose that which solution works well for you. So if you move to media commerce landscape, then basis your brief, you pick up first data signals. You identify which are the portals which is in high relevance. And then you again look at the fact that if you're trying to create awareness and video is the objective, or if you want video completions, then you need to move towards OTTs or YouTubes of the world, right? So this is the time, I'll say this, especially this year, where advertisers have that upper hand, that you can create your own bouquet. Like you're not limited that if a data source is coming from a partner, then I need to run ads only on that partner and my product has to be listed. Of course, that was the beauty, but that beauty is still here and it has expanded more.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, if you have to kind of link content and commerce, how would you kind of go about that when it comes to commerce media?
So, shall I pick that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So when you talk about content, I literally, want to build on what he had said. Relevance is something very important. And when you say that relevancy has to be there, media commerce is there and programmatic comes into picture, I say that creative goes programmatic. I mean, that's the tagline, right? That it's always about creating hyper-personalization, not kind of getting under the skin of a consumer, like not
Right.
literally,
It's like
getting
personalization
sneaky.
versus
Yes.
invasion
Yes.
that we were
Yeah.
talking about.
But if we ask ourselves, even we all are consumers to all the brands, right? I would love to have a personalization done for me where I don't have to spend like 2 hours just to figure out, what kind of clothes do I want to buy.
Right.
But basis my 5 searches, then I'm, thrown options which is more relevant to what I had been looking for, which we may not realize, but those engines had been, kind of working on the algorithms and showing me options, which is a form of hyper personalization. And that works very well within this, within the scope of media advertising too. So if you talk about commerce as a space, just imagine, and this is a campaign that we did at Zaxxas right now, which was for one of the leading brands. I'll not name it because the report hasn't been published yet. So what had been done was that within the creative, it was a FMCG brand, you could see the pricing options and the pack options just down the line. So you don't have to click on the ad to go on the landing page. You'll see the ad, you'll see the offer, and just down below there, you'll see all your products listed within the creative itself.
So
You
that's
can
a
keep on
delight for a
swiping.
consumer.
Exactly, but that's more of a customization for you,
Right.
basis knowing what as a user you had been interacting with the landing page earlier previously, and then what kind of product do you really want to buy again, because that had been your purchase history with the brand page, and then those options had been thrown at you, and then conversions are higher, and plus even for you, one landing page has been skipped totally. Because along with the creative, you're getting to see your add to cart options too at the same time. And you're getting options, whether you want to buy directly from the brand page or you want to go to another e-com portal. So creativity is not just about having concepts or not just about, having cohort basis targeting.
Right.
But furthermore, that how do you marry it well with the purchase journey also for user. So this is where media commerce plays a bigger role, that with the help of media commerce and creativity in picture, you can actually now skip the less for a user. So for me, it saves my time, right? I don't have to go to 3 pages to make a purchase. Like right then and there, I can just do it for me.
Right.
So yeah.
I'll just add to her point as well. Look, I'll kind of bring the entire context of your own platform, right? So if you have your own platform, the content to commerce really becomes a game of data.
Right.
So you can track everything. So who is the guy? So not who is the guy. So how many people are coming to the X page? How many clicks? How many impressions? How many conversions? How many people have bought which kind of products in their basket? How many people dropped off? And what I'll give you a number. We made 3,000 content pieces last year. Out of that, 83% of the content were used primarily using first-party sources. The conversion, as I told you, was 3.2 times more higher. Also, we used to do this entire testing of not just A/B testing. We used to do A, B, C, D, E testing. 5 kind of creatives used to happen basis their entire consumer persona. So, for example, if there's a guy who is dropped off from a cart, how do you show that kind of a creative? If that is working well, what kind of messaging is something you want to communicate? So, you can control, the control variables are limited, and you have a lot of opportunities to play in terms of permutations and combinations. That's the beauty of it.
Directly,
Yeah, you can just link
increases the
everything together.
effectiveness.
And also it's sharp, it's very linear. What we, and again, that's the discussions we were having backstage. We try to normally link one source with another and then bring a conclusion out of it, which is
is
full
vague.
throttle rubbish,
Yeah,
I feel, right? Because
complete vague,
you look at A source, B source, C source, and then make a conclusion out of it saying it worked, not worked.
Yeah.
If you have your own content platform, which is content management system in place, with of course with this entire privacy thing, which is a big issue, data privacy. You have the data privacy in place. You create your own platforms, and we all know that this entire world is going cookieless. Biscuits are going to exist, not the cookies, right? So the cookieless world in 2023 is at the end is a big topic of discussion. And today, everyone is trying to gather the golden records of consumer, your own consumers, your own stakeholders. And what you're possibly going to see is more of platforms like LinkedIn, more of platforms like Instagram. I would rather see less of Facebook, because Facebook banged on personalization. 50% of the revenue in last year for Facebook was out of personalization. But having said that, with this entire act of data privacy and the GDPR compliance in picture, I see a lot of organizations going for their own creation of golden records of consumer, calling it as a CDH, Consumer Data Hub. And you look at a bank like HDFC, for that matter, they are building on those consumer hubs. ITC also was building on it. And all the major giants would have more advantage, I would feel, more throttle, because they have that liberty to build with people expertise and process expertise in picture. So, and I see that as a big trend, because all of them will try to create their own D2C spaces to move ahead with, yes.
So when it comes to platform, how does it?
Sure. So I think users today are getting extremely impatient, right? And they are demanding more in the same set of time. So our philosophy at Bobble is that we want to shorten the journey from discovery to transaction as much as possible, right? Because like I said, I mean, people want more in less time and they want instant gratification. So the way we are doing this, the way we are shortening the journey from, say, intent to activation is by directly integrating services right when that intent to consumer service is generated, right? So whatever intent, whether you are searching, browsing, messaging, an intent to consumer service or product can be consumed right there and there on the platform, and with personalized sort of recommendations available to the user, right?
So how do you draw a line when it comes to, like, we were talking about personalization versus invasion?
Sure.
So this much intelligence is also going to intrude into their journey as well. So
Right.
how does this whole intervention take place, at what time, with what intelligence?
Sure, perfect. I think that's a very good question. So talking specifically about our platform, right? I mean, when we onboard users, we take certain kind of permissions from there. And one of the permissions that a user grants us is to give them personalized recommendations. Now, if you look at a conversational tool, right? Right from the time when you're typing something, when you type happy, there's a recommendation like birthday, morning, something, right?
Yeah.
So your AI tools know what to recommend you basis whatever it is that you're doing, right? So, I mean, the first thing is that our users on the platform are used to the fact that they are getting tailored recommendations. Now, we are only extending this concept further and taking it to the next level, in which we not only predict words or the next set of sentences that you want to probably write down, but we predict the set of services, right? So, because users are used to the fact that they are getting recommendations for certain things anyways, I think this does not, and it is not an intrusion in their privacy, right? I mean, it's just an extension of the algorithm to kind of predict the next set of services or products.
Okay, interesting. But are there any, from your experiences, any do's and don'ts that one should keep in mind when it comes to, commerce media?
I think just to kind of outline the question which you had last, I think it's important to have a limited frequency cap as well. Today, people are looking for brands are looking for burning impressions. So it's so easy to have a reach into 3 or 4 frequency and then bombard and waste it's a waste of money at the end of the day. Impressions hardly matters on digital. So possibly the solution can be you start with 1.5 cap frequency, test creatives out, see what is working well, have a creatives which land you the landing page experiences. It's uniform, it's linear, and then see if that kind of a creative is working well. How do I then convert and repeat again with better kind of input? So I think the frequency cap also needs to be adjusted in a way wherein you understand which frequency cap is working, and then you slowly play it out. Because today, as you said, consumers are too impatient, and they hardly have little patience on ground. Yeah.
Right. And if the intelligence is used wrongly, then they're going to be pissed.
So if intelligence is used wrongly, you'll have 128 million impressions as campaign performances. That is unfortunately the current scenario in terms of digital. It's sad to state that still today certain brands perform and measure their campaign performance only with the number of impressions. I think that's unfortunate. With the entire thing of tracking the entire funnel, I think click to intent to purchase, I think the entire thing has to be linearly kind of mapped, and impressions hardly serve any purpose. So unfortunately, that's the current scenario.
Right. I want to go back to what you said, Disha, about reducing the journey time, right? Do you think in a hurry to close that and shorten the journey, we would be also pushing too much on the performance, or pushing too much on the transaction, which the consumer may not really like?
I don't kind of agree with you on that one, because I think today's consumers, they do look for personalized recommendations, and if we have the data intelligence backing the kind of recommendations that you make to end consumers, I think users value suggestions which are of need to them, or which make sense at that particular time, right? So I think
So relevance is what you're bringing to the journey, and which
exactly
is why,
relevance backed by the right kind of non-intrusiveness to the suggestions or whatever content it is that you are showing, and a quick call to action that lets them do the get to the end goal. I think it definitely works for the end consumers, but it has to be a fine balance of everything that we just talked about.
I think I'll add to, we did a campaign with Bobble AI. I'm not here to kind of talk about Bobble AI, but when we did a campaign with Bobble AI for one of our brands at ITC, we realized that the conversions, because we were giving coupon codes, I remember, and the number of people who redeemed coupon codes, you can actually track because you had your own portal. So number of people, number of shares to number of people redeeming coupon codes, I think you could track the end-to-end measurement. And Bobble AI did a good work, because I'm presuming that the team got more work, but it was not just the work. I think you could track end-to-end. Yes, the stickers with that right kind of suggestions could give you that suggestions at the end of the day that, hey, redeem this to get this experience with a nice
So you
sticker.
are assured as a marketer also that it is the correct, relevant suggestion that's gone out.
It's a
and
nudge. I would say it's just that enough nudge,
Exactly.
and it lures you into, because again you're talking to that young TG. Your TG relevance is also important.
Right.
I think we have. I would call myself as slightly old or slightly not too young, but people who are younger. I think stickers works well for them because that's the kind of conversations which they have, right? So if it's like gone are the days of text, we still prefer texts. For that matter, I would prefer text. But if the younger TG prefers stickers, in that stickers conversations, if a nudge is given, I'm sure that nudge is enough for him to kind of lure into taking certain actions. Right. And that action, again, is the primary objective. Conversions depends on the brands. But for us, we were very clear that our primary objective using stickers was to drive conversations and shareability. Secondary objective was, hey, let's redeem some certain coupons and see that does it have the power to lure certain call to action loop closures. And fortunately for us, it did serve the secondary purpose as well. So yeah, it serves dual at the end of the day. Depends on the objective, yes.
I think just to add to your point, I think the reason why these things work is the network effect, right? And the personalized recommendations, right? One friend recommending a sticker to another friend or a family member, there's this instant personal connect, and I think that's what kind of really kicks in.
And you have your own face on it. So yeah, maybe it works well for the TGS.
So also we were talking about also do's and don'ts. I want to go back to that also, since it's a buzzword and it's a lot, being understood. From the experience, do you think there are some cautions also to this? Because we are playing with a lot of data and intelligence here. So any do's, like must-haves, or the don'ts? One of them you just mentioned, which is the frequency cap, right? Anything else?
Yeah. So I would say that, see, if today when we say programmatic is the world, right? What is programmatic? That's something which is driven by tech, right? So decisions not being taken by humans anymore, but tech deciding you on your
Right.
behalf, telling you basis the data readings that it's doing. And today is the world where automation is the pillar. So it's not artificial intelligence, but something I'll call as amplified intelligence, where AI meets human intervention. Okay. So when you have that entire stack with you in your hand at your disposal, so instead of taking decisions by deciding, which partner to take, which inventory or data provider to take, why should we not go for automation where those insights are being read by the platforms, algorithms, and suggesting you that you should be putting your FCAP of maybe 3 on this particular video partner, 4 on this OTT, 2 on this display channel, etc., and then analyze your campaign. That your VTR will improve then drastically by 10 more percent. And you have AI partners doing that job for you, right? So I would say that a must have is start relying on those automations and AI tools which are built for the optimization of the campaign. And see, it is not possible for humans to be working on a campaign day and night and monitoring it like 24 hours. We end up eating food, sleeping, etc. But AI doesn't sleep, right? So that's doing that campaign optimization for you in real time in actual world. So your campaign actually gets a good performance. But the thing is that we need to again move beyond just activation, because when we look at any kind of offering, we think, okay, when my campaign is going live, let me put a certain data cohort, let me put a certain kind of AI. But what about pre and post analysis? When you're planning a campaign, don't we think that that was also a time when we had to take use of AI? And when you're driving a campaign, instead of just as an individual by my mindset putting up a planning perspective into picture, I should again move back to technology and do that job for me, where tech is telling me that basis your past campaigns or basis your TG, this is what you're being suggested to do. So coming back on media commerce, if I take FMCG category as an example, so you can actually go back and type in the keywords basis your product, basis your brand, and see what your competitors are doing in terms of penetration, on which e-com portal their penetration is heavy. What are the keywords within your brand which users are searching for? What is your penetration? So your data might tell you that your sales are heavy on, say, Amazon, but could be your searches are heavier on Flipkart, or your competition is heavier on Flipkart, right? Which we end up ignoring at times, or maybe not even looking at. But that was a very important data set for you. So no strategy can work same for TV, for traditional, and for digital programmatic. It has to be different. So when you're planning your campaign, I understand you go back to survey methodology, especially for your traditional campaigns. For your TV campaign, you go back to BARC data. But I think it's not justified if you follow same methodology or same rules even for your programmatic campaign. So you have real-time insights at your hand, those tools which are
Use
helping
them.
you or plan your campaigns. So use that instead. So I think that is what I'll say, that when you're talking about digital or programmatic, it's very, very essential to have your own matrix, which is built on digital capabilities, which is where you have tech as the
So
core
don't
backbone.
mix the matrix. Is one
Yeah,
of
so
the
I'll say that
caution.
mix AI
Yeah.
with human intelligence. Don't keep it separate.
Just also to add, I think from my end, the do's and don'ts would be that there are going to be more specialists coming into picture. I think there are going to be profiles and jobs created which are for these specialists. She talked about programmatic. The simple way of saying programmatic is the data-driven way of buying digital ads to a layman language. So, but it's not that simple. So I do see a lot of commerce specialists. I do see a lot of AI specialists jobs being created. That's good from the organization, and that's a must-do. The don'ts would be that today still organizations are trying to merge and say that this is job for media planner. Let him or her only do it. So I do see a specialists coming into picture, and also I do see these specialists being driven towards a change, because with great change comes great outcome. Sorry, I've taken the liberty of destroying the Spider-Man's quote, but I think with great change would come great outcomes. And probably, I still remember that 2007-8 was the era of Orkut getting over. Digital is changing super fast. New roles and new profiles will be created. And I think exciting times for the younger students who want to have digital expertise or careers in place. I think it's great times. An organization needs to be cognizant, get these young people, train them, and I think build digital capabilities within organizations in future. Yes, I think that's where we are.
Sure.
I think just one last thing from my end would be in terms of do's and don'ts. I think if you're a brand or a marketeer, look for platforms that give you omni-channel coverage, right? So, I mean, keyboard or a conversational tool, for example, right? I mean, it's omnipresent in the sense that whether you are on WhatsApp or whether you are on a Google browser, I mean, anywhere that you are on your smartphone, you have covered, right? So, I mean, scenarios like whether a particular user is heavy on Amazon, I mean, those can be easily tracked by a platform that gives you omni-channel coverage, right? So I think as a brand or a marketeer, if you are betting big on your commerce media strategy, definitely go after platforms that give you that kind of 360-degree intelligence and coverage.
Yeah. And what do you think is the future of commerce media, looking at the potential of what's coming? Relevance we spoke a lot about, because today we are talking about cookieless future, and therefore, the way the whole topic suggests, unlocking the path for first party data, it does solve that challenge. But what do you think is the future for commerce media? Anybody?
Yeah, so see, when you talk about commerce media, I think we just started. So this is a year where even the products are being made across the industry. So, and I feel that 2023 is going to be a very heavy year. And when you talk about future for commerce media, see clearly, I'll say in urban cities in India, the new generation, when I say new generation, not 20 years old, but tens, right? They're not even using phones. They don't even know how to type. They just start talking to the voice assistants, which is again built from commerce landscape. So I say that commerce media right now, it could be just about maybe purchases or ROIs or funnels, or ROAS is the word right now, but the future is huge. The future is going to be driven by the kind of avenues that you have, which is again voice ads, where how do you enable your advertising to work with those voice chatbots, right, where the ads can talk back to you basis those intents and the signals. So I feel that when you talk about future of this media commerce, of course it is big and there are waves that's going to come in. So right now it's more about maybe ROAS, where you talk about omni-channel approaches, or
so newer data points.
Yeah, and this year we could see omni-channel happening within media commerce. We could see that you can take data sets from media commerce and you can target them outside e-com portals. So that was omni-channel approach. Now it is coming more, which is how do you automate your campaigns and optimize them with AI? How do you have insight, which is again coming from all the portals coming in? So it's insight-led planning is coming into it. And then you also have, creative, which are talking to you. The way I just told you about this, that creative has add to cart options inbuilt within it. So creative integrations. And then fourth is going to be, of course, as I told you, voice advertising is going to be again enter within media commerce space.
Great. Thank you. Any last words, anybody?
I think she covered well.
Yeah.
I think she covered well. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much. I think we've got great
Thank you.
insights here for commerce media.